A lot of guys know that Phil Heath was once a basketball player, but not everybody knows, or only a few guys know how he really got into bodybuilding. What made him go into competitive bodybuilding, what motivated him, because it wasn't an injury or so. It was a different story. And today I want to tell you the story. Back then, when in 2002, when he began his 5th year at Deniz University, he did varsity hoops. And his eligibility was over. It was done. So his permission was done. And I think that, he didn't have the talent to go to the top NBA basketball players. He's 5'9", so he was probably very, very dedicated and motivated, but he wasn't meant to be the best basketball player in the world. But Phil was never lazy. Phil was a very, very hardworking dude. Always. So he began to do something. He began as a bouncer just to have something to do. So he began a job as a bouncer because he missed the structure of the practice schedule of basketball. So when he did the bouncer thing, he got to know a lot of bodybuilders because, a lot of good bouncers are buff guys and are into bodybuilding and training, everything like that. So he got to know them, and he not only got to know him, but he started to train with them. So his surrounding was more and more bodybuilders. And he wanted to know, what is this all about? So at the end of the year, in December, he went to a local competition where a guy who was a top bodybuilder back then, his name is Claude Grox, he did a guest appearances, and he did sign autographs for the fans. And then this is the guy, Claude. And then the friend of Phil said, "Man, go to that guy and make a photo with him, flex your biceps." And when he did that, Phil's friend said, "Your arms are as big as Claude's." And of course, it wasn't like that. And he over-exaggerated it. But probably this thing probably motivated Phil. And, not everybody hears that. But let's go on. This guy, Claude, asked Phil, "Do you compete?" And Phil's friend said, "No, he's a basketball player." And Claude Grox said at the same day and at the same discussion that he has potential. Not only a bit of potential, but a lot. And that was weird for Phil at the beginning, but it did motivate him because it was the start of a new hobby called bodybuilding. He took anatomy class to learn how the body was structured and changing. He bought a digital camera to track all his progress, and he had a scholarship at the Denver University. And with the money of the scholarship, he didn't bought junk food, alcohol, things like that, but he bought a lot of supplements, books about how to gain muscle and lose fat, and obviously, nutrition things. And when he began to do it, he stopped, he went more and more into that bodybuilding thing. So he stopped eating all the things he ate as a basketball player, like burgers, fries, donuts, pizza, things like that. And when he started to do that and got more and more into that bodybuilding routine, his body changed crazily. So he knew back then, okay, Claude was right, and I have probably potential. And that was the thing, how he got into bodybuilding. So it wasn't an injury, it wasn't something like that, it wasn't Jay Cutler or so. A lot of people know the picture with Jay Cutler, but that was when Phil already was into competitive bodybuilding. But that was the story about him going into bodybuilding. And that was the first part, a portrait on Phil Heath. The second part will be his body transformation from the beginning of his career in 2003 of competitive bodybuilding to now as a 5-time Mr. Olympia. So I wish you all the best, and stay tuned and subscribe, because then you get the notification when the next part is out.